This is Mesosaurs. Mesosaurs were one of the first terrestrial vertebrates to return to an aquatic lifestyle since the first amphibians came onto land some 60 million years prior. You may have seen Mesosaurs in your middle school earth science textbooks when talking about plate tectonics. They are found in southern Africa and eastern South America, which were once connected hundreds of millions of years ago. But one aspect of Mesosaurs that is glossed over is their home, the Mangrullo Formation in Uruguay, an environmentally extreme site which created some of the most amazing fossils in Uruguay. During the early Permian, about 300 million years ago, the world was coming off of an ice age. Uruguay was much closer to the poles and experienced massive glaciers. But the warming world triggered an influx of water and with it marine life such as fish. Uruguay's newly birthed sea would not last long though, as a warming world and shifting lands caused the sea to be cut off from the ocean, leaving it isolated. With no major connection, the sea shrank and became hypersaline. Many animals died, but the Mesosaurs flourished and became extremely well adapted to its new salty life. Its bones became thicker and denser to counteract the buoyant salty waters, and they likely had salt glands based on positions in their nostrils to get rid of excess salt. But the Mesosaurs weren't alone in their hypersaline home. They fed on small extinct crustaceans called Pygocephalomorphs. They were small, only getting up to 20 centimeters across at the largest, but they were plentiful enough to sustain the ecosystem. They too adapted to the salty environments. They also had increased body density for buoyancy, and they had these special pouches called oostegites to protect their embryos from the extreme waters. These creatures reflect an overall trend in hypersaline environments. As salt increases in a water habitat, the diversity of species decreases. However, those individuals that survive vastly increase in numbers and proliferate. It's similar to the Great Salt Lake in Utah, which houses billions of brine flies and trillions of hardy brine shrimp. But pygos are relatively rare in the fossil record. They lack robust exoskeletons that could survive fossilization. So how do we know they lived here in Uruguay? The answer lies in their extreme habitat. The hypersaline lake made life difficult for many organisms. What's more, the bottom lacked oxygen, so scavengers and decomposing bacteria couldn't disrupt and break down dead animals. As such, animals would lay undisturbed as they are delicately buried. Hundreds of Mesosaur skeletons have been found due to these conditions, giving us an amazing look at their lifestyle. And what's more, soft tissues are also found, and the results are marvelous. Body parts like Mesosaur blood vessels and nerves, and Pygocephalomorph digestive organs and antennae are yielded in intricate detail. And fossilized Mesosaur dung, called coprolites, are found with pygo remains still inside of them. But perhaps the jewel of the Mangrullo Formation treasure is this fossilized embryo of a Mesosaur. It was a highly developed embryo that was still found inside its mother. And given that Mesosaurs were a type of reptile, this either means they laid eggs late in life or gave live birth, which would not be unusual as other, non-related marine reptiles eons in the future would give up egg laying for live birth. This is so far the oldest known embryo of an amniote in the fossil record. Given that reproduction knowledge from the past is fleeting and incredibly challenging to find, this makes this embryo a remarkable find. Eventually, the ocean reconnected with the hypersaline environment and the Mesosaurs lost their dominance as conditions returned to a more typical marine life. However, the return to normalcy brought with it the return of scavengers and decomposers, which meant no more amazing fossils. The Mangrullo Formation is one of South America's best fossil sites, and although it has been studied for decades, the recent influx of amazing knowledge comes from Dr. Graciela Pinheiro, who is paramount for the study of these fossils. I encourage you all to read through these papers written by her and her colleagues to learn more about this wonderful Lagerstatten.